class. Today we're going to be talking about negotiation and resolution of work and task-based conflict. Presented to you by Vanessa Arita, Elsa Felix, Amanda Guerrero, Valerie Montenegro, Juan Perez, Bryce Sandoval, Hugo Avalos Figueroa. Our objectives are: what are workplace conflicts, types of workplace conflicts, ways to manage and resolve conflict, 3 steps to resolve workplace conflicts, additional tips to handling conflict in the workplace, what are the task-based conflicts, 3 steps to mitigate task-based conflicts, how to identify conflict, effects of task-based conflict, how to avoid task-based conflicts, 2 common types of conflict, how conflicts are beneficial, 2 types of team conflict, the 5 dysfunctions of a team, what is a negotiation, how to properly negotiate, benefits of negotiating. What are workplace conflicts? Conflict is a normal and natural part of any workplace. It has been estimated that supervisors spend at least 25% of their time resolving workplace conflicts. No 2 people are the same, and when our different motivations, process, and goals clash, conflicts arise. Conflict isn't always something to fear. However, because of conflict comes change. When resolved properly, conflict can lead to better ideas, better understanding, and better working relationships. There are many types of conflict that may arise in the workplace. Here are 6 of the most common conflicts. Interdependence, task-based conflict. These disagreements arise in situations where individuals in an interdependent project network must coordinate their tasks so that everyone can successfully get their part done. To solve these conflicts, delegate tasks effectively and communicate the importance of responsibility and accountability. Leadership conflict. Everybody has a different leadership style, and everybody reacts differently to those leadership styles. To solve potential conflicts in leadership, emphasize mutual respect of differences in style and throughout the organization. An example of leadership conflict is when employees feel underappreciated by the boss that doesn't motivate or praise good work like the previous boss did. This creates a ripple in the organization by creating tension that can explode at any moment. To minimize leadership conflict, leaders must analyze the company's employees based on how they react to new policies, process, or ideas. Also, the leader can give constructive feedback and offer incentives to create a positive work environment. Work style conflict. Just as there are different leadership styles, there are different work styles. Some people prefer to work in groups, while others do their best work alone. The same idea of mutual respect and understanding applies here, as well as throughout all workplace conflicts and any interaction involving other people. We may prefer a particular work style, but sometimes in groups, teams must collaborate to come up with an idea greater than one mind can think up alone, meaning they must learn to deal with each other's differences. Personality-based conflict. We are all different. We're not always going to like everyone we meet, and it's not easy to work with someone whose personality we find distasteful. It's helpful to remember that who we perceive someone to be is not necessarily who we actually are. This circles back to the theme of empathy and understanding. Don't let what you've seen define everything you think about someone in the future. Personality-based conflicts can be minimized by including activities like work diversification, trainings, or company parties, family events. By becoming together with each other, it gives employees a chance to understand one another and learn more about each other's values. It also creates a company culture that will help the production and work ethic in the long run. Discrimination. There is where workplace conflict gets more serious and where human resources might have to get involved. If there is harassment or discrimination going on due to age, race, ethnicity, gender, or whatever have you, there is a serious need for the company to explicitly emphasize open-mindedness, acceptance, and understanding. If you or any of your coworkers experience discrimination in the workplace, seek help from the company's human resources department or go to a trusted colleague or friend. Creative idea conflicts. Conflict when it comes to idea brainstorming is an excellent opportunity to make the idea even better. Employees need to recognize the idea of others, voice their own, and then gather the best piece together for a stunning resolution. If two individuals were disagreeing on a project idea, they could talk to each other and cooperatively decide on one idea or the other. To minimize creative idea conflict, employees should feel safe about the ideas they share with the company. Also, it helps to create a company culture of no idea is a bad idea. Employees should understand and accept that collaboration and group thinking can help improve the idea if needed. Conflict is not a strange thing for people. Human beings experience it in their day-to-day lives, with their friends, families, and more so their professional lives. In the workplace. Conflict causes a massive degree of frustration, pain, discomfort, sadness, as well as anger. It is a normal life aspect in the world of today. Organizations hire employees from diverse geographical locations with dissimilar cultures and intellectual backgrounds, as well as various viewpoints in a working environment where people can disparate outlooks towards the same problems. Disagreements are bound to happen. Conflicts are inevitable in a person's day-to-day life, and when they happen, the idea is not to try preventing them, but rather resolving and managing them in an effective manner. When people use the appropriate tools of resolution to address issues, they'll be able to keep their differences from rising to a major problem. Here are some ways to manage and solve conflict in the workplace. Clarify the resource of conflict. Find a safe and private place to talk. Listen actively and let everyone have their say. Investigate the situation. Find common grounds and a common goal. Agree on the best solution and delegate responsibilities. Evaluate how things are and find preventive strategies for the future. 3 steps to resolve workplace conflict. Calm down. Accept the reality of the conflict. Communicate. Active listening. Self-reflect and resolve conflict. Focus on where you agree and not so much on where you disagree. Be forgiving. While having a conflict resolution structure is important, effective utilization of conflict resolution process is ultimately dependent upon the ability of all parties to understand the benefit of conflict resolution and perhaps more importantly their desire to solve the matter. The following tips will help to more effectively handle conflicts in the workplace. Define acceptable behavior. You know what they say about assuming. Just having a definition for what constitutes acceptable behavior is a positive step in avoiding conflict. Hit conflict head on. While you can't always prevent conflicts, the secret to conflict resolution is in fact conflict prevention where possible. Understanding the WIFM factor. Understanding the other professionals with them, what's in it for me position is critical. The importance factor. Pick your battles and avoid conflict for the sake of conflict. View conflict as opportunities. Hidden within virtually every conflict is the potential for a tremendous teaching learning opportunity. What are task-based conflicts? According to Wayne from the Washington Business Journal, task-related conflicts, also known as cognitive or substantive conflict, involves differing ideas about how to perform a work-related task or make a work-related decision. For example, a task-based conflict can be employees who differ on what to do and or how to do it. Employees may disagree on many things, and tasks are definitely one of them. Employees may disagree on project planning. They may disagree on the rules and policies they have to follow. They may also disagree on delegating tasks. Task conflict at work can also be about how to divide up and use the tools and sources you may have. Or they may even have different opinions about rules and or policies that go along with their work assignments and projects. Task conflict is one of the types of conflict you may encounter at your workplace. However, don't be stressed out just yet. Conflict is a normal and natural part of the workplace. It is something almost every employee at a company will have to face at least once in their work career. You just have to know how to handle the conflict in order to solve the problem. So don't stress it. Here in the next few slides, we will tell you some ways that you can solve task-based conflict. 3 steps to resolving task-based conflict. 1. Identifying the conflict. 2. Find out why the conflict is happening and to which part of the task is the conflict about. 3. Come up with solutions to the task conflict. It is important to know when conflict at work is happening. Why is it happening and between whom is it happening so that you can try to resolve the conflict. So how do you identify the conflict? Some ways of identifying the conflict is looking at the body language of your employees or fellow coworkers. Body language is a good tell-all way of knowing of how someone is feeling. You can tell when people have conflict through body language by looking at their position of how they are standing or sitting. Maybe they are turned away from someone or standing far away from someone. They may also not want to have eye contact with this person, or may look sad or stressed around a certain person. Looking at these body language conflict signs will help you determine whom is in conflict with whom. How to identify conflict? Body language, sudden bad performance at work, behavior changes, comments or complaints. So, what if you are the one in the conflict? The way you can identify the conflict is to be honest with yourself. If you are having a task-based conflict with one of your colleagues, you probably are experiencing some of the identifiers we listed in the previous slide. However, some people may not realize it until they are honest with themselves. You must also be aware of colleagues because maybe you don't have conflict with them, but they may have conflict with you about a certain task, but they may be silent on the disagreement. Be observant in order to notice if they are expressing one of the identifiers of conflict. It is important to identify conflict early on so that you are able to resolve it before it gets too serious. Task-based conflicts can occur when members within a team rely on each other to successfully complete tasks or projects. An incomplete task of one member can affect another member's part, thus may result in other member's part to be completed on time. These task-based conflicts can hurt a team's productivity, diminish work relationships, and cause low morals. However, some studies have shown that task-based conflicts can spark creativity and innovation.
Workplace conflicts can occur in any organization, and ignoring them can be draining and costly. Therefore, understanding the reasons behind workplace conflicts can help HR professionals resolve conflicts before they get out of hand. This is an example of how not to handle conflict in the workplace. Here we have a clip from The Office where Angela and Oscar are having conflict because Angela wants her poster of a baby playing instruments hanging in the office because it makes her happy, but Oscar doesn't want to see it every day when he's in the office. Oscar doesn't like looking at it and says it makes him feel bad when looking at it, so these two employees have some conflict. How their boss, Michael, handles the conflict is he comes up with a horrible solution, of course, of Oscar making the poster into a t-shirt, and he wears it around the office so that he doesn't have to look at it, and Angela can see it on his shirt. Instead of coming up with a real solution, they come up with this horrible solution that would not really resolve anything. This is one way you should not handle conflict. And you should watch The Office if you want to see any other horrible solutions to conflicts. There are many ways to avoid task-based conflicts. For example, specifying roles, responsibilities, clarifying job assignments can contribute to eliminating confusion. Creating a timeline can ensure that everyone knows when tasks should be done by. Having team building exercises allows for people to get to know each other, which can create for a cohesive team. I work for Walmart, the online grocery and pickup, And if no one knew what they were doing, we'd be totally a mess. And either people would be getting groceries the whole time and not taking out to people's cars, or people would be taking out to people's cars and not getting groceries. And we have to get things done by a certain time. So I can agree with this task-based conflicts, and knowing what you're doing and having a timeline really does help. Task conflict happens due to disagreements about how to complete work tasks. Relationship conflict happens when employees have different personalities or preferences that contrast with each other. Value conflict comes from differences in what people think is right or wrong, often based on cultural, ethical, religious, or political factors. Working for Walmart, I've noticed a lot of relationship conflicts, and I've noticed a lot of people try to be bosses and they have their own different way of doing things. And I've seen many conflicts happen because of this, and it makes for a stressful work environment. So trying to avoid this or have a leader situated and know who is in charge is the best way to go about it, in my opinion. Task conflict can encourage teams to be more open to new ideas and to learn to work better together with those who have different preferences and understandings. As teams come together to address task conflict, the group becomes more unified and even more productive in the future since team members are building their conflict resolution skills. The benefits of conflict can be constructive, boost productivity, create healthy debates that can spark collaborative, innovative ideas, and promote growth. The goal is to maintaining the benefits is that employees need to continuously work through conflict rather than avoiding and ignoring it. Not all conflict is negative. Some studies suggest it can be beneficial, just as some forms of stress can be considered healthy. There can be healthy conflict. There are two basic types of team conflict. Substantive conflicts arise over things such as goals, tasks, and the allocation of resources. Emotional conflicts arise from things such as jealousy, insecurity, annoyance, envy, or personality conflicts. Eustress is a positive reaction to stress that generates a desire to achieve and overcome challenges. Team conflicts can also produce positive results when the conflict centers on substantive issues that can lead to new ideas and generate creativity. Groupthink is a mindset that develops when people put too much value on team consensus and harmony. If there is too much cooperation, the best idea may never get shared, and team effectiveness is sacrificed out of the sake for efficiency. However, if there is too much conflict, then it can result in low productivity. Therefore, it is important to distinguish healthy conflict from unhealthy conflict. Now that we have covered a few areas of conflict, I would like for you to think about a time when you worked on a high-performing team and when you worked on a dysfunctional team. Pause this video and take a moment to jot down some reasons why you felt the high-performing team worked out and some reasons why the dysfunctional team didn't work out so well. On the next slide, compare your reasons to the model. In the Lencioni model, Patrick Lencioni identifies 5 characteristics of a cohesive team, which are trust, conflict, commitment, accountability, and results, with each behavior building on the other. This model serves as a guide to point out how the team is doing and how they can become more cohesive. I know from my personal experience, my team lacks trust, commitment, accountability, and conflict, as no one really trusts each other to get the job done. No one really takes accountability for their actions if they mess up. Some people like to call in, so they're not really committed, and there's always conflict. So those are what my team lacks, and I feel like it's very dysfunctional. Here's a video based on the Patrick Lencioni model. Patrick Lencioni identifies 5 core dysfunctions that most teams face. Another way to understand this model is to take the opposite approach and look at it from positive side. More specifically, look at how cohesive teams behave. A negotiation is a dialogue concerning at least 2 parties that voice their needs and wants in order to come to an agreement. When successful, the involved parties leave with a satisfied and continued business partnership and/or relationship. When unsuccessful, the parties will later meet to renegotiate, or the parties will sever ties. There are many ways to negotiate in a work environment. Some of those ways are to be confident, know the opposing audience, use common words, terms, or phrases to create transparency, do due diligence on contract or policy being negotiated, be proactive in making an initial offer, have a set bargaining range, and compromise. There are many benefits to negotiating. Some of those benefits are allowing employees to interact with the management, increases employee productivity, improves communication in the company, enables policies and contracts to be updated, resolves conflict within the workplace, creates transparency within the workplace, and develops soft skills. Today we are analyzing the following: types of work and task-based conflicts, how to solve work and task-based conflicts, how to identify conflicts, effects on task-based conflicts in the workplace, how to avoid task-based conflicts, 2 common types of team conflicts, the 5 dysfunctions of a team, what is negotiation, how to negotiate, benefits of negotiation, and lastly, if anyone has any questions or comments for our presentation, please feel free to leave them in the virtual whiteboard space. Thank you. And these are the references used for our group project.